Hello and welcome to the new video cast. My name is Eric Young, Nubank's Chief Technology Officer.
And I'm Ethan Eisman, Nubank's Chief Design Officer. And we're here today to introduce Carl Rivera, who joins us as our Chief Product Officer.
And today, Carl is going to walk us through what it's like to build AI-first products at global scale at Nubank and define the future of product and financial services for the decade to come. Welcome, Carl. Great having you here.
Thanks, guys. I'm super excited to be here.
All right, Carl, so you've been here for just a few weeks, and this is your first week in Sao Paulo. I'd love to get your first impressions on the team and what it's like being here.
Oh man, it's been incredible. And I think my first impression of this place is definitely the energy and the pace. Every person I work with, or every person I've spent time with here, they all share this feeling that we're still in day one and that we have all of our opportunity, all of our future still ahead of us, which is an incredible feeling to have at a company like Nubank that has already achieved and accomplished so much. And that's definitely the type of environment that I really, really thrive in.
That's great. So, Carl, I've been following your work from afar for a few years now. You start off in agencies, then you founded Ticktail, which was a shopping app. Then you had an incredible career at Shopify, working on product as well as design. And I'm curious, what was so inspiring about Nubank? What brought you here?
Well, I love the mission and how we frame the mission. Like for me, when I think about people's relationship to their bank, it's one that leaves so much to be asked for. Like if we think about the relationship we have to our banks, it's the place that we go to ahead of every major life decision. If you're going to have kids, if you're going to buy a new home, if you're going to change jobs. And still, when we think about the relationship people have to their banks, it's a utility. It's something we don't really care about. We don't love it. We don't hate it. It's just there. And to build a bank that customers love fanatically and to consider the position and opportunities that can unlock for customers everywhere, globally, it's just such an important mission to go after that I jumped into the opportunity.
I'm curious, are there any aspects of the global mission that you had at Shopify that you see carrying over into the Nubank world?
Shopify, just like Nubank, are deeply mission-led companies where we use the product to enable that mission and to bring it to a global audience. And I think really what we can bring over from Shopify, my learnings that I will bring over from Shopify, is to consider not just how we bring products into our market, but how we create a global platform where every market benefits from the growth in all markets. And where we really intentionally lean into the network effects that we can build as a bank, a global banking platform, to make every customer in every country make the platform better for the whole.
I mean, you're joining us at a really remarkable time for the company. I mean, we just recently announced we crossed $5 billion a quarter in revenue. We have 135 million customers on the platform. The Mexico business, which was once a bet, is now break even, and we're at a point where we're the third largest bank there. And the AI Private Banker is a new surface that has 15 million monthly active users. I kind of view this moment as the perfect moment for us to invest in a CPO, and really would love to get your first thoughts being here at the company. How does the product philosophy that you're seeing on the ground, the opportunity for what we're going to build going forward, fit with what you want to do here in terms of defining the next decade to come of financial services?
And I think it all, again, starts with the company being extremely mission-driven. And I think every person that I've met so far cares so deeply about the customer and building a solutions that our audience loves fanatically. And from there, we answer that question by building amazing products. And I think with you here, we have a much more concerted effort in building platforms that truly scale globally. And with you here, Ethan, we have a much greater focus on the customer experience and bringing delight to every touch point. And I think what I want to bring is to consider now much more of how does the network fit together and what are the experiences that we can unlock at this global scale. I think a lot about one of my first memories of banking. And I was like 10 or 11 years old, and I went into a local branch in Sweden. And there was this person there and that gave me my first bank book. And I remember this feeling that banks used to feel so personal. And then all of a sudden, banking became this large business, and customers of banks became kind of these like account holders, something that was sort of abstracted away from the human behind the experience. And I think now for Nubank specifically, given how mission-driven we are, and with what AI enables, we can bring that personal banking experience into this new generation of app experiences. And that's really a product experience that I'm excited to unlock together with you, where every person that opens up Nubank feels like, okay, I have my personal banking relationship here. I have an app, a banker that knows me and my needs and my situation intimately. And it's my trusted thought partner as I use my bank to navigate through life's biggest decisions.
Yeah, I love that vision. And when you think about Nubank's mission, the way that you articulate that, that future is, I think, absolutely how we're going to be able to do it with AI, personalized experience across the globe. So I see that as the way that we unlock that customer love. But I love the vision that you articulate around how we get there.
Maybe on that point, just around customer love, you've spoken a lot about that, I know, in your prior video casts, and obviously I know you both have a shared passion for product and design. As we think about building, customer trust and building a delightful experience, how do you think the app and the product should feel to the users in terms of, their day-to-day use to build that level of connection with the product?
I think it's key that the app meets the customer where they are. And what that means, I think, tactically, is that no Nubank experience will be the same. Depending on where you are located, depending on where you are in your financial journey, depending on what you have just recently done inside of the app, it will adapt to you and your needs. And also understanding that different form factors are right for different customers. And so if we take, for instance, the Brazilian populace, I think we have a fantastic opportunity to really create bespoke and tailored AI experiences around voice, because that is one of the primary ways in which people want to interface with the products that they use. And so I think getting down to that level of personalization and form factor that's adapted to each of our markets and our customers and their needs is going to be key.
I love the idea, like the multimodality, incorporating voice in the product, being able to match the user where their needs are. I know you've been pushing a lot in terms of us just embracing performance standards in the app, visual design standards in the app. It's been one of the kind of core areas of focus for us as the last 9 months, and great to see that you see that same connection and focus, permeating the future work of product. Just been astonishing improvements in terms of the rate of performance and latency and the engineering focus on screen layout and visualization that I've seen kind of come to the product in the last 9 months. So on a previous podcast, Rohan and I were chatting about, the evolution of AI across the product surfaces internally, how we're using it to transform the way we work, and also the products that we build. Kind of paramount to all of this is how we integrate trust into the experience and how users get comfortable with the decision making and how we always make sure we protect the user experience. How do you think about trust in terms of the AI experiences that we're building?
I think as AI is becoming a more central part of every product experience, trust is becoming more important to all companies. But it can't be understated how important it is to a company offering banking services. And I think the core point around trust is really around user control and being clear about what happens when you do something. And so I really think trust is centered around user control and setting the right interface to give feedback on the actions that you take on the customer's behalf in the framing around AI experiences.
It deeply resonates, and I can see it kind of in the way we build products for our internal users as well as the external ones. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So another sort of question about AI and the implications of AI on how we build product and the values that go into how we build product. So as we scale to be more of a global company, one thing that has been totally apparent is that the importance of product excellence, performance in the experience, the transitions between screens, the delight of each screen, the passion and energy that goes into crafting each experience becomes even more important, because customers need to feel like there's a real human who cares about them behind that product surface. Then on the other hand, we have AI that makes it easier for us to move even faster than ever before and automate the way that we're working. So I'm curious your perspective on how do we balance the speed that AI provides us and the efficiencies AI provides us when we build product, with the flip side, which is that we need to build a product that customers can really feel like there's a human behind it who cares about them?
I think two things that are important to state at the onset of that question is that to a customer, they will never care or know if the AI or a human built the feature. right? Like when it shows up, it won't be like, oh, this feature is bad, but I guess it's fine because an AI built it for me, or vice versa, right? And then I think the other point that I think is important to clarify is that while we're going to, in a very real way, adapt AI as a way to accelerate our workflows and become more productive than ever. In fact, we already are, and we're seeing those gains internally. Using AI can never be an outsourcing of the responsibility of the result. Like, I really think that that's the job of us, of the humans that are part of every company, to take responsibility of the output. And so really when I think about our commitment to quality and 10 out of 10 experiences, it doesn't change one bit with the help of AI as a tool for productivity to drive us forward internally. It only means that we can get there faster and that we can try more things, but the bar stays the same.
Kind of continuing on these lines, we have this, I think, this interesting challenge as we become more of a global company, which is global consistency versus local relevancy. And you've spoken about, AI being the ultimate personalizer. And of course, we can make it the ultimate localizer as well. But I'd love to get your perspective on whether there's a tension there between consistency and localization and personalization. How do you think about that balance between the two?
This comes down to the difference between building global products and building global platforms. Like, we're not trying to create a product that we can in the same way deploy to every market where we're active. We're trying to build global platforms such that we discover and identify the right levels of abstraction, such that it becomes faster for us to build fully localized products. And I think this is a core difference in how you approach work. And from what I'm seeing already, it's really in the DNA of Nubank to approach things this way. And to say, okay, we're going to build a platform that scales globally for all of the needs. We're going to figure out the right abstractions layers, like this is how yield generally works, this is how bank account generally works. But then we're going to look at the needs of Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, the US, and all of the markets that we have ahead of us. And we're going to figure out what are the expectations of those markets and how can we differentiate and actually go further than that. And then we're going to build local products. And those will require local configurations and some extra effort, but they'll be much faster to deploy because we have this great platform supporting us.
It's almost like there's this layer, which is the sort of global platform and consistency, market relevance, and focus on the specific market needs. And then there's the personalization on a per person basis that AI gives us.
Absolutely.
I mean, all of this, like the substrate, the foundations, the platforms, the global scale, are kind of all coming together so fast and so quickly in this moment. It's exciting to kind of think about how does that change the way that we work as an organization to kind of match our ambition and our scale to be able to deliver these products and these experiences in a completely redefined way. From your seat, kind of as a CPO, how do you think we might have to change our ways of work to kind of embrace the full potential of this moment?
That's such a great point, Eric. And it's so easy when you talk about AI to get completely caught up in all of the opportunities it creates to build new products for our customers. But as for all things AI, what you put in is kind of what generates the output. And I very much believe that how we work will define the types of products that we're able to build. And it's equally important to think about how is AI changing the environment, the company, the processes. But what I will say is that I've been so impressed by how far along Nubank is on this journey already. Now, we don't do a good enough job to talk about this, to brag about this externally, but truly, from my vantage point, we're one of the companies that is the furthest ahead in the internal AI adoption process and how it has completely transformed all of our workflows. And I think the result of that is a flatter, more fluid org, where lines will be blurring, where product leaders will be doing design work and engineering work. And the same thing goes for design leaders and engineering leaders, which means that an individual contributor can have an outsized impact, cover more scope, own more end-to-end journeys, which at the very end, I think will translate into better customer experiences. Because when a single person or a smaller team than before can hold the end-to-end customer journey in their minds, you know that it's going to be an experience that really feels cohesive from start to finish.
Two things you said that really resonated. One is just workflow and the importance of using workflows to think about the future of work rather than functions. It really allows you to think about solving the problem without the historical boundaries of what people used to do. And I think that's been very formative in how we're thinking, and Ethan's leading for us this whole workflow transformation initiative. And for me, I get a lot of motivation by that because it's an opportunity to redefine our profession. And I also love the fact that you're really pushing forward and empowering people on this journey. AI is not replacing people. It's actually giving them a tool set to actually go broader and go deeper and then be able to accelerate their own professional development. And so in some regards, there's always a level of hesitation, but it's always exciting to think about what you can do with this new set of tooling and capability that wasn't possible before. So that certainly seems very compatible with the way that we're looking at it.
Definitely.
Yeah, I would just add, I think one of the characteristics of new bankers is that they are passionate about learning, and they're passionate about the work that they do. You kind of have this opportunity in the history of technology to embrace these new AI technologies, these new tools that we have to accelerate what we do in each function. To your point, to look across functions and potentially play different roles. It's such an exciting time to be alive and work in tech. And it's one of the things that I've been really impressed by our new bankers, just leaning in so much. I mean, it requires that passion in order to actually keep pace with technology. I'm curious if you've seen that as well, like the spirit of, again, you've been in Sao Paulo for, just 1 week, but you've been also on calls with folks across the company. I'm curious your impression on sort of the culture of learning agility that you've seen at Nubank.
Yeah, it sort of comes back to actually where our conversation started. If there's one thing that has defined my first experience of Nubank, it's the pace and the energy. Every person I talk to is deeply mission driven. These aren't mercenaries that show up to just do the job and then go home. It's people that join this company to pursue the mission of building a banking platform, a global banking platform that customers love fanatically. And I think when you sign up for a mission, you don't assign yourself in the same way to a specific set of tasks. You assign yourself to, I'm going to do whatever it takes to reach this objective, to move us closer to this goal. And I think that helps us enormously in this period when all of the ways in how we do work is changing, and it's changing rapidly, and the only constant is change.
So Nubank has significant ambitions. We want to become a company that's got global scale and also have customers that love us deeply. And, in order to get there, we're going to have a lot of work ahead of us over the next 5 years. Now, you've scaled products globally at Shopify. Those products have had a high level of customer love as well. I'm curious your perspective on, what does that look like for Nubank as we move into the next 5 years? What are your ideas for how we get to our ambitions?
The two experiences that I take with me from Shopify that have most influenced my outlook on product and how I think about product work is really one on platforms, and it's the value of really investing in foundations, and it is an investment, but that it allows you to go so much faster over time. Arguably, Shopify is one of the world's best platform companies, and we saw that day to day as we were entering new markets, that the investment that we placed early on, the foundations that we put in, really helped accelerate the company at a global scale. The second experience from Shopify was, of course, scaling Shop and Shop Pay, where I truly saw the value of network effects and how you can create this incredible experience by hiding all of the complexity of money movement, all of the work that goes in on our end to make things that feel like just magical experiences to the customer. And I think about that sort of as the end state of Nubank as well. We're a global platform that supports all markets. And all of a sudden, once you get to that end state, the world starts to be a market that benefits enormously, vastly from the network effects of having all of these customers connected on the same network on the same rails, such that even international transfer starts to feel like domestic ones. Fast, free, immediate, from a platform that you don't just use to, settle the bill from a restaurant, but that is your trusted partner for all of your financial decisions. And one of the beliefs I hold dear in product development is that you need to have a really clear and strong articulated vision of the very, very long term. What is the sort of North Star vision that we're trending towards? A North Star vision that is supporting the mission of the company. But then you can kind of ignore everything in the middle, the blurry middle, and start to think, what is the most important first next step that we're going to take on that journey that keeps us on the green path and moves us one step closer? And then you work through that process, the iteration cycle of putting, one small step forward, one foot in front of the other, faster and faster and faster, to really just focus on the velocity, the pace at which you're inching in on that long-term vision.
That's great. And I can imagine as well, it's critical for every one of those steps to be done with a deep level of care and consideration for the quality of the experience.
I think that defines the whole thing, right? Like I really don't think that you can continue to proceed if you start to create an experience that's subpar, that doesn't meet the customer's demands and needs, that don't make them love you fanatically. Because at this point, you're starting to break the fundamental thing that defines our relationship to our customers, trust. Eric and Ethan, I've spent a lot of time talking. I'd love to turn the questions back to you. You've been here for a year already. What is your best advice for me as I step into this new role here?
You know, one of the values that I just love about Nubank is this idea about challenging the status quo. And a funny story is I think I joined the company, I'd been here probably 4 hours employed, and I walk into our company all hands meeting and coffee break, and the first question I get is, how do you plan to challenge the status quo? I don't think I'd even logged in at that point. So I obviously didn't have a lot of perspectives to share, but I think it gets to the core principle of like, we are pioneers. We do want to reinvent the future. We do want to kind of constantly push ourselves and not just challenge the industry around us, but challenge our own ways of work, our own product that we're building to build something new. And I think you come in with a fresh perspective. And I think, don't just conform to the normal and the current ways of work, but help us understand how we can improve, because that's the most powerful thing that I think we can learn from in this moment and help challenge us to do something more inspiring. And I think with your seat as being the product seat, it's going to be an incredible seat to drive us in some great directions to come.
And from my perspective, there are two Nubank values that I think are just so powerful and that they impact the way that we think about delivering an incredible experience to our customers. So the first one is that we want our customers to love us fanatically. And, that one I always come back to when, I'm having a long week and it's like, oh gosh, there's so many things to do, or we're having some challenges, and, bringing myself back to our customers and who we're building for and what Nubank means in their lives and how Nubank has transformed banking for so many people across Brazil and Colombia and Mexico and soon to be US and beyond, that gives a lot of energy. And it also it's so associated with our mission. So that's the first one that I've seen across Nubankers. And if you ask me, what really drives me and what I think really helps drive our experience, it's that core value. And then the other one is high standards. So I know from the work that you've done, you have incredibly high standards. And I think that's just a critical one. If you couple those two together, this obsession with making sure that our customers love us fanatically, with setting high standards, raising the bar for the work that we do across engineering, across product, across design, so that we're just delivering the best experience to customers. That's the biggest bit of advice. But I don't think I need to give you this advice. This is who you are, and so I'm really excited to see what you do with us here at Nubank.
Carl, thank you so much for spending all the time with us today. It was great to have you on the podcast and get to learn more about your view of the future. And thank you to all the viewers who stayed with us till the very end of the podcast. We really appreciate it.
Hey, Eric, Carl, I'm so excited for what we're going to build together. So let's do this. Let's go.
I'm super excited for this future.